Hi, Kyle here, and welcome back to my channel, One Techie Dude, where your ed tech happiness starts. I want to take a break from the creation of Google Classroom videos and talk a little bit about the asynchronous learning. As you know, our district has chosen this to be the method of teaching for our students who are staying home during the return of school. So in this video, I will define what asynchronous learning is and how you can engage your students in both face-to-face and at home. Let's get it. So there's been all of this talk about asynchronous learning, and so for many years I had no idea what asynchronous learning meant. So I want to cover that with you today. As we look at this, I want to encourage you that all of us can do it. We can do this together. We are not in this boat alone, so let's all work together as a team and do our best to provide our students with the best education that we possibly can. So exactly what is asynchronous learning? Do you know what it is? Well, it's pretty simple. In short, it's not keeping time together, which means that students can access information, demonstrate what they've learned, and communicate with instructor or classmates on their own time. You don't have to be in the same room or time zone to participate. So anybody can be anywhere in this world, and they can do the learning at any time they want to. Now with TEA's requirements, it's a little bit different for us because students have to check in on a daily basis. So you're going to have to set those guidelines and those parameters for your students to check in and what times are good for them to check in and so forth. So my question to you is, how do you engage students in an asynchronous learning environment? This has been the question that has been asked to me on numerous times, and the question that I come back with is, how do you engage students face-to-face? Engagement online looks very similar to face-to-face. It's interacting, it's discussing, it's assessing, it's providing the feedback, and providing student-centered activities to help the students tie that knowledge they've learned with real life situations. So what we'll look at in this presentation is, in engagement, it's basically threefold. We start with the interaction, then we have person-to-person communication, the content application. In interaction, we're looking at reflective deep processing. What can we do to make sure that the students are actually reflecting on the information that's being presented? In the person-to-person communication, we want to look at how we communicate from the instructor to the student and also from the student to other students. In the content application, it's more of producing these student-centered activities. So how can we create this content that is going to be presented back to us? So let's look at interaction. We have three different things in the reflective deep processing that we can look at. The first is readings. Readings are beneficial to students to respond to critical reading prompts. So basically, we want to focus on reflecting and students processing information on a deeper level. One way to do this is to provide readings for students. However, assumptions need to be made that students will read the information that is presented. And we know we can't assume that every student will read the material presented. That is why it's important to provide reading prompts or questions to get students thinking on a deeper level. There are some tools that I've presented here that you can do this with. For instance, in your Google Classroom, if you do an assignment that you post a reading and you want them to respond to it, they can do that in Google Classroom. You can use your Google Docs where you can pose a question and they can respond to that on there. And you can also do it by your email. There's also some other things that can be done, some other tools, which we will discuss more in detail later, but you can use Flipgrid, which is a video response, and even Padlet, which is an interactive bulletin board, but we'll cover those a little bit later. We also can look at videos and audio presentations, which can appeal to the different learning needs that students have. Videos do not have to be over the top amazing, and you can use basically any video that you find on the web. Videos that are on YouTube, videos that are on TED Talks. As long as the students can hear you and comprehend the text or images on the screen, they'll respond better to the authenticity than your higher production videos. So they don't have to be over the top amazing. Let your enthusiasm in the video about the subject matter come through. Remember, when you're creating a video, research has said that if you go over 6 minutes, then you have a great chance of losing students' engagement. So try to keep your videos short. Edpuzzle is a wonderful tool to use for video lessons because you have the opportunity to embed questions throughout the video, and students can answer them before they move on to the next section of the video. Some of the other non-free tools that you could use are Nearpod and Pear Deck. The last way to engage students in a reflective, deep processing way is to use Formative Assessment, where you can check for understanding of the information presented. This can be a graded assignment, or it could be not graded at all. Remember, the more you assign, the more you have to provide feedback for. Quizzes and Kahoot are game-based tools that allow you to check for understanding, while Google Forms can be used in a number of different ways, such as an exit ticket or even quiz. All three of these are wonderful ways to provide formative assessment. In person-to-person communication, we have the instructor to the student. One way that you can do this is weekly intro videos to the lesson. Regular intro videos or lesson or announcements is a way to provide students with important information and demonstrate that you're present and engaged in the class. This can be done by using QuickTime that is on every MacBook. And I have a video on YouTube, which I'll link. Screencastify, which you can record up to a 5-minute video for free, or you could even use Google Meet. So these are some of the tools that you can do to do these weekly intro videos of the lesson. The other thing is to provide opportunities to gather student feedback. You must provide students with these opportunities to provide feedback. The Google Classroom chat is a wonderful way to interact with course content, texts, and activities, and are an essential element to asynchronous courses. These also provide students the opportunity to respond to other questions presented by the students on clarifying information. With that said, you must acknowledge their feedback with a response, and it must be timely. This can be done in your Google Docs as well as in an email communication. Just be sure when you assign, you clarify how discussions should take place and where they will take place. Lastly, Instructor to Student Communication. You may respond to the entire class if you notice several students are missing a concept. This can be done by using the announcement section of Google Classroom. So if you figure out that a student is missing or several students are missing, you may want to respond to the entire class and not just one individual. So you may wait. And student-to-student communication, it is very important to set boundaries, but also encourage collaboration. Flipgrid, which I mentioned earlier, is a video-based discussion, while Padlet is an interactive bulletin board for students to respond. This is a wonderful way to get your students, for one, out of their comfort zone, but also a way to get them involved in the discussion. While the tools are only suggestions, use what makes you comfortable, but provide students with the communication they need to feel involved and engaged. I also feel it's important that if you're going to use tools, make sure that your team, that your campus, that even your district knows what you're doing, so this may be a tool that they want to implement district-wide. The more that we use the same tools district-wide, the easier it is going to be for our students to go from grade to grade. And last is the content application, which are student-centered activities. Although a student is working independently and can easily feel like they are in a silo, their learning experience can remain interactive. It's important in online learning that students constantly engage with the content and continue thinking critically as they work. When I design learning modules, I build a think time for learners to reflect and jot down ideas. I also create prompts and tasks for them to apply content presented in the module as the module moves along. Providing several do-nows can help ensure that learning is progressing throughout the module, similar to layers of learning or scaffolding that you would normally build into your classroom. If a student waits until the end of watching a series or videos or reading text to complete a task, the chances of their spacing out is pretty good. Create these chances for role play, simulations, or even demonstration of knowledge learned with activities or creating different things for them to turn into you. With that being said, I want to show you just a quick little agenda that I do to keep myself organized. You can see that on number one, we have the intro to the video message, which I talked about earlier from the teacher. Just make sure that everybody understands what we're going to be doing. Two, we have a reading from Newsela or a video from a reliable source that we can put in Ed Puzzle with questions, maybe over the background knowledge. We can use Brain Pop, Mystery Doug. We can even use Discovery Education, any of these tools that we currently pay for. Then we can reflect or have a comprehension question that can be typed out. We can use in our Google Classroom chat, or we can do a Flipgrid video. The fourth one is a screencast video of teacher providing the instruction. And then the fifth is the practice time for student to submit to teacher for feedback. So this provides your students to be able to recreate basically what you've done so you can assess their knowledge. So as always, please let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to the different but start of the school.